All right, Savages, what I'm going to walk you through today is the exact framework that I used to attain 476% attainment as a BDR when I was at Salesforce. I'm going to walk you through what the methodology is, how to do it, and then I'm going to wrap up with some actionable tips so that you can put this into practice today. So let's get right into it. So, just to reiterate what this means, this is no BS. This is an actual screenshot of my performance review from when I was a BDR at Salesforce, and my average quota attainment was 476%. Now, you might be thinking that, well, he was just a BDR. How is this going to apply to me if I'm an AE? Here's the deal. I use this same framework when I was a small business account executive, helped me get to be number one pretty quickly. When I got to enterprise, helped me crush pretty quickly, leveraging the same framework. And then I've now taught it to hundreds of sales reps from other teams that I've ran and in the coaching academy that I run today. So what it is, it's the 5x8 prospecting method. And what that is a simple way for you to approach prospecting that's going to give you the following benefits. You're going to increase your account penetration rate for how many 100 accounts that you reach out to. How many of them are you going to be able to break into? Increase your number of opportunities created there that are qualified, and decrease the amount of time spent researching and prioritizing. So, bottom line, more pipeline, less time. Sound good? All right. So, you may have heard of the 5x5 prospecting method before. This is a slight tweak to it to make it even more effective. But the $1,000,000 question is, why not you do 5x5 if you've heard of that? So, let me give you some data. Number one, the average person takes at least 8 cold calls attempts to have a conversation with the person that they're reaching out to. And that's as of 2021. Now that we're in 2024, it's only getting worse. So that trend's not going to go down. So why would we reach out only 5 times to someone if it takes 8 times or more to get a conversation? That's number one. Number two, email reply rates are still consistent all the way up into the 8th email, which would be the initial email and 7 follow-ups. So we're leaving money on the vine if we're not truly exhausting these opportunities. So when we think about what you're ultimately doing with the 5x5 method, from my personal experience, is you're quitting just before you break through versus the 5x8 method, you're truly working it and exhausting all potential, which leads to the most important briefing that you need to wrap your head around if you're going to use this methodology. The goal is to exhaust all potential methodically. The goal is not to sell all your accounts. The goal is to exhaust all potential, right? And when you're doing it methodically and you think about it under this mindset, you're going to drastically reduce your stress levels because we're focusing on controlling what you can control with this methodology and framework. So, how does it work? High level, you're going to find 5 contacts that are the right titles for you to reach out to above the power line: economic buyers, VPs, C suite, whoever that is for your solution. This is who we want to do. Basically, people you want to talk to. Then you're going to pick a couple outreach channels, no less than 2, no more than 3. And then these are going to be the outreach channels you're going to be using, whether it's call, email, social media, direct mail, text, so on and so forth. Pick 2 to 3 that you're going to use as your primary outreach channels for these people. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make 8 attempts over the next 8 weeks. And it's very simple, and I'll show you in a sec how it works. And what that means is for every contact that is going to get 8 attempts, that equals 40 attempts per account. Again, the goal is to exhaust these accounts methodically, and this is how we do it. If you're touching a lot of accounts and you're not breaking through, this is the problem that you're running into. You're not exhausting them. That's really important to understand if you're going to be successful in generating pipeline. So let's break down the math of what this means to make it simpler for you to keep it going for your environment. Number one, 5 companies per day of the week. You can do a little bit more, a little bit less, but a general rule of thumb is 5 companies a day, 5 contacts per account or CPA, 2 to 3 touches per attempt. So every one of these outreach channels is 1 touch. Okay. And I'm going to explain what that means. I'm going to show you a visual in a second. So when you think about the math, 5 companies a day, 5 contacts per account, and 3 touches per attempt. That's 75 total touches per day. And when you think about what that is over a week, that's 375 touches per week. Okay. Now you might be thinking that's a lot. You might be thinking that's not a lot. But the whole goal is to simplify and make it methodical and scientific of how you work your territories so you can exhaust all potential consistently. That's the key. So you might be thinking, well, I'm an enterprise rep. I only have a handful of accounts. Or, I work at a startup and we have thousands of accounts to call on. Right. So how can I make this work for my situation? So that's what this is all about right here. So let's say you're an enterprise AE or you're just an AE in any size segment and you only have a handful of accounts to call on. Here's how you make it work for you. Less accounts equals more contacts per account. So instead of 5 by 8, you might be doing 10 contacts times 8 attempts. Or less accounts equals more attempts per contact. So maybe instead of 8 outreach attempts, you're going to have 16 outreach attempts, right? And those of you that are in strategic roles, you only have a handful of accounts, you know that you're going to be working these accounts way harder than someone that has hundreds of accounts. But this is how you make the framework work for you in a methodical way. You just adjust these levers to make it work for your environment. Example B, let's say you cover thousands of accounts and you may not have the bandwidth to do that. Guess what? We're looking at the other side of the spectrum. More accounts equals less contacts per account. So instead of 5 contacts per account, maybe 3 or even 2, but you're targeting the titles that you want. Or less attempts per contact. So instead of your 5 by 8, go 5 by 4, right? But something where you're methodically covering more ground in these accounts. So if you're covering thousands of accounts, if you have a massive territory, or you may not have a massive territory, but you sell to SMB accounts where there may only be 3 contacts that really are above the power line that you want to reach out to, this is going to apply to you so that you can make this work for your environment. But the key is building the math equation around the attempts. So how do we execute this? I'm going to show you a simple view, then we're going to expand this on a day-by-day breakdown so you can understand what a full week looks like for you. So this is very simple. Week 1, we're doing attempt 1. These are cold accounts. Remember that. So you don't need to be calling them every other day. You're overcomplicating it. Keep it super simple. 1 time a week for each of your accounts, do 1 attempt. And 1 attempt is 3 touches. So in this example, call, email, LinkedIn. Or maybe you do, call, email, text, whatever that is for that contact. You pick your outreach channels as I outlined earlier, and then you stick to them. And then every week you do an outreach attempt every week, and you do this methodically until you exhaust that account. And then I'll tell you what to do exactly when that happens. So the goal is keeping this super simple, 1 attempt for each. And I know the gurus are going to hate this because they're going to say, well, all this data says, if you call on Monday and leave a voicemail, you call on Wednesday, you don't leave a voicemail, you send a smoke signal on Thursday, you send a direct mail on Friday, that's how you optimize it. Yeah, if you have a perfect system and infrastructure in place, you might be able to pull that off. But let's be real. Most organizations do not have that infrastructure to support you. So you don't need a sales loft. You don't need an outreach. You don't need these tools to do this for you. All you need is a spreadsheet. And I know this because this is what I used when I first got in the game. Then I evolved the tasks. So this is very simple and that's by design. So this is what a week looks like. And there's 2 different options. I'm going to show you how to do this. So 5 accounts per day in similar industries, calling all the contacts. So let's say you're manufacturing, right? So Monday might be your manufacturing day. So you're calling all your accounts in manufacturing and you're calling all the contacts in each of those accounts every Monday. So those are your Monday accounts. And then on Tuesday, you might be calling into tech companies, right? Call all the tech companies because you want to call similar companies because they're similar talk tracks, right? So, and then each day you'll have your Monday accounts, Tuesday accounts, Wednesday accounts, Thursday accounts, Friday accounts. Again, the whole goal is keeping this super simple. And this works. And I know this works because I did it. And I only speak to things that I know work. So if you keep the simplicity of this, you're going to drive results more consistently and you're going to make your life a lot simpler and a lot easier. So that's option A. Option B is you call all the same titles each day. So let's say VP of sales is Monday, sales director is Tuesday, CEO is Wednesday, so on and so forth. Because again, helps you with similar talk tracks. So I've done both. Both of them work. But the key is increasing your productivity is having similar tracks that you follow each day so you can get more done in a quality way. So this is how you break it down. And again, 1, 2, 3, week by week, you do the attempts. You don't need to call them every day. Methodically work them. You can cover a lot more ground effectively by leveraging this methodology. So now that I walked you through the methodology and what a week looks like and how to think about it, last is what are some action steps? What are some pro tips, some things to keep in mind for you to make sure this actually works for your business? So, number one, keep the touches per week goal consistent regardless of the number of accounts. And here's what I mean by this. Every week's going to be different. Every day is going to be different. Some days you might be in the field traveling. You might have a conference, right? Sometimes you may only have 30 accounts to work. Sometimes you might have 80 accounts to work. Identify what an ideal touches per week goal is for you and stick to it. So in this example, for this, I use 375. Maybe for you, it's 500. Maybe for you, it's 200. Whatever it is, have a healthy volume that allows you to do a good level of quantity with good quality and stick to it every week. Because what that's going to do is going to help you think proactively around, do you have enough pipeline and enough accounts to prospect into? And are you thinking ahead to make sure your pipeline is full of accounts to prospect to in the future as you look at your touches per week? And that's number one. Number two, aim to exhaust every account 3 to 4 times a year. Look, for the folks that have been in sales for a long time, you know this. If you're newer to sales, let me cue you in on something. Sometimes it just comes down to timing. You might have the perfect solution to solve something that you know is going to help their business, but you might just be calling on them at the wrong time of the year. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Know that that's part of the process. So if you think about having a methodology and a framework that enables you to work these accounts a couple times a year, that's going to help you not beat yourself up and not leave money on the table. So you work an account, and let's say this in timing's not right, no worries, great. Then you just put that account on the back burner for 90 days and rinse and repeat because this is a revolving wheel of how you do this. But a general rule of thumb, if you're thinking, well, how many accounts can I do this at a time? How many contacts, how many attempts to do the math to make it work for you? Look at your number of accounts and look what it would take to work them 3 to 4 times a year. And then that'll help you how much bandwidth you have to prospect on a daily, weekly basis. Number three, not every account is created equal, so adjust your cadences accordingly. You're not going to treat your tier ones like your tier twos and your tier threes. Your tier ones, those are your strategic accounts where you think you can get a lot of revenue out of that account. So you will have a lot more attempts there or more contacts. Tier two, think of these as your singles and doubles, right, for your territory. Tier one is triples and a home run potential. Tier two is singles and doubles. Tier threes is maybe something will happen, but I don't expect much. So you're not going to work those as hard. So these are just some examples of how you can change your cadence for these different types of accounts. So don't treat them all equal. Number four, build out your templates per attempt per title. So if you have 8 attempts that you're going to be doing, build a template for each of those 8 attempts. There's going to be different ones, and it's going to be a lot of work to do. But once you get those templates built out, you're going to be significantly more productive on a day in, day out basis. And when you think about a template, you could still personalize templates, but the goal of templates is to get you 80 to 90% of the way there. Because if you have the same call to action and a lot of your templates, worth a conversation, if you could save yourself typing worth a conversation hundreds of times, that'll add up. So you build in the similarities into your templates. So then the personalization is the only thing you need to type in the emails as needed. That's going to save you a lot of time, and tailor them per title the best you can, and have different ones, because your first email is going to be different than your third, than your sixth, or your eighth, right? So build those out in advance. So then when it comes time to actually do the outreach, you can move a lot faster. This is big. This is a revolving wheel. So you should be swapping in your accounts and contacts on a daily, if not weekly basis. Because what's going to happen is, as you're working these accounts, what you'll find is it's very rare that you're going to get all the way through all 40 attempts on an account to truly exhaust that account. You'll either book a meeting a lot sooner, which happens a lot of the time, or you'll find out this isn't the right time, right? So when that happens, you're going to be swapping those contacts in and out of your cadence. So when that happens, you should be revisiting this on a regular basis and identify, okay, how many people do I have in a cadence right now? Whether that's looking at a simple task report, which is very simple to do. You don't need a fancy software to do this, or looking at a spreadsheet. A simple color coding can cover this, and you can swap those in and out on a daily weekly basis, so you always know how many accounts you should be working at any given time, right? And that's what it comes down to when you think about how to think about this. Once you identify, all right, here's how many accounts I can work at the same time. Let's say for you, that's 30 accounts at a time that you can effectively work. You'll be able to look on a daily, weekly basis, and you see, okay, once I get below 25 accounts that I'm actively working, now it's time to add in another 5 or 10 more. And this is how you keep on top of it, and you stay proactive with your pipeline for prospecting versus reactive. Okay. Last but not least, my most important tip I'll give you: don't get fancy, don't get cute. A quote that I learned not long ago is, simple scales, complex fails. So do not overthink this. Disregard all the gurus out there that say you need to do all these crazy cadences. This worked for me not only when I was a BDR, it worked for me as an AE, an SMB, and enterprise. It's worked for me building teams, both at big companies with a great brand and a great product, and in tiny startups where it didn't have brand recognition at all. And it was a very competitive space. So this works if you stick to it. So don't overthink it. If you're not getting results, that doesn't mean the methodology doesn't work. There's room for improvement of how you execute the methodology. So don't overthink it. So my name's Justin J. Johnson. I hope this is helpful. I'm the founder and creator of the Beautiful Savage Sales Academy. And I want you to use this. I want you to implement it. I want you to burn it down. If you need any help, let me know. I'll see you in the next video.